This lesson will cover chapters 22, 23, and 24 of 2nd Chronicles. Chapter 22 is somewhat confusing because of names that are different from previous chapters and from persons who have the same name. Chapter 22, verse 1, and it reads, "And the inhabitants of Jerusalem made Ahaziah, his youngest son, king in his stead, for the band of men that came with the Arabians to the camp had slain all the eldest. So Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, reigned." Now Ahaziah is called Jehoahaz in the previous chapter, and that is somewhat confusing. 42 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. His mother's name also was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri. Now that she would have been a granddaughter, and she is a descendant of Ahab, as Athaliah was his daughter. And of course, remember that there was a marriage between the king of Judah and Athaliah, the daughter of Ahab. There is no way that this youngest son could have taken the throne at 42. Jehoram died when he was 40. So this is a copyist error, and when we look back to this story in 2 Kings chapter 8, we learn that Ahaziah was 22 and not 42 when he took the throne. 3. He also walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother was his counselor to do wickedly. And of course, he is going the wrong way. Remember that there is no word for a grandmother, mother. When you see father, mother, it means a descendant. And if she is his counselor, he is in an unfortunate position because she is a Baal worshiper. 4. Wherefore he did evil in the sight of the Lord, like the house of Ahab, for they were his counselors after the death of his father, to his destruction. Now, this Joram up in the north is the son of Ahab, and there was a Jehoram who was the king in Israel. And this Jehoram, who is the son of Ahab, is Ahaziah's uncle and not his father. We learn back in chapter 19 that God sent a prophet named Jehu to warn the father not to collaborate with the king to the north. And you're going to see this happen once again. And it's going to be, it's said, to his destruction, because he is listening to idol worshippers. 5. He walked also after their counsel and went with Jehoram, the son of Ahab, he's the king in the north, king of Israel, to war against Hazael, the king of Syria, at Ramoth Gilead, and the Syrians smote Joram. Okay, this is Joram, that's Jehoram. And here, once again, you have the king of Judah collaborating with the north to go against the Syrians, and it didn't work. And he returned to be healed in Jezreel because of his wounds, which were given him at Ramoth, when he fought with Hazael, the king of Syria. And Azariah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, went down to see Jehoram, the son of Ahab, at Jezreel, because he was sick. Azariah. All right, now 7. And the destruction of Ahaziah was of God, coming to Joram, for when he was come, he went out with Jehoram against Jehu the son of Nimshi, whom the Lord had anointed to cut off the house of Ahab. Now this Jehu is not the prophet Jehu, but he has been commissioned to wipe out the house of Ahab. That would be all of the male heirs. 8. And it came to pass that when Jehu was executing judgment upon the house of Ahab, and found the princes of Judah and the sons of the brethren of Ahaziah that ministered to Ahaziah, he slew them. And that is how this one existing son came to be the king, because they were up in a place where they did not belong, and these were 42 who were slain. They were cousins and relatives of this new king, Ahaziah. And Jehu had been anointed, of course, as it said here, by God to be the king of Israel and to totally wipe out the house of Ahab, all of the males, and that would have been because of Ahab's sin and wrongdoing when he stole the vineyard from Naboth. 8. And it came to pass that when Jehu was executing judgment, okay, we did that one. He's killed all of these, not only Ahab, but he's gotten persons of Judah also. 9. And he sought Ahaziah, and they caught him, for he was in Samaria, and brought him to Jehu. And when they had slain him, they buried him, because they said, he is the son of Jehoshaphat, who sought the Lord with all his heart. So the house of Ahaziah had no power to keep still the kingdom. So this is, yes, he was slain, and we learn back in Kings that they went out, they sent messengers and a watchman, and they sent messengers, and the messenger was told to turn around, and the second one told to turn around, and the third one told to turn around. And these two, Ahaziah and Jehoram, went out in their chariots, and Jehu killed them both. They wiped out the seed line. Well, who will take the throne of Israel? 10. But when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the seed royal of the house of Judah. Now this is a queen mother, and she has killed all of her own sons. She has killed anyone who would stand up to be the king. Killed her own family, not her sons. It would be her grandsons and her grandnephews, and she's making a play to rule. Athaliah, a Baal worshiper. 11. But Jehoshabeath, the daughter of the king, this would be her granddaughter, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him from among the king's sons that were slain, and put him and his nurse in a bedchamber. So Jehoshabeath, the daughter of King Jehoram, the wife of Jehoida the High Priest, for she was the sister of Ahaziah. Okay, she is the wife of the son of the high priest, and she is the sister of this king who was just slain, and she has hidden Joash. 12 to complete this chapter, and he was with them, hid in the house of God 6 years, and Athaliah reigned over the land. This would have been a wonderful place to hide this little boy, because this old girl would not have been going in the house of the Lord. Now, we have types in the Bible, and Athaliah is a type for the Antichrist, who will claim a throne that's not his, just as she claimed a throne that she had no right to. Chapter 23 will cover Joash. And in the 7th year, Jehoiada strengthened himself and took the captains of hundreds, and Azariah the son of Jehoram, and Ishmael the son of Jehohanan, and Azariah the son of Obed, and Maaseiah the son of Adaiah, and Elishaphat the son of Sichri into covenant with him. This is covered, of course, in Kings chapter 11. Now, Jehoiada was a high priest, and Kings emphasizes the role of the military. Chronicles, more from God's view, will emphasis on the priest and the Levites. And he has organized here too. And they went about in Judah and gathered the Levites out of all the cities of Judah and the chief of the fathers of Israel, and they came to Jerusalem. So he's gotten all the Levites, and he has gotten the heads of families. And he's used the military, of course, to gather these up. 3. And all the congregation made a covenant with the king in the house of God. And he said to them, Behold, the king's son shall reign, as the Lord hath said, of the sons of David. And of course, back in 2 Samuel, when David wanted to build a house, David was promised that he would have a house built and a throne forever. Of course, David's kin were not on the throne of Israel or Judah forever, as Hezekiah was the last one. But through that seed line came Jesus, who will reign forever when he comes back to earth as the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. 4. This is the thing that you shall do. A third part of you entering on the Sabbath of the priests and of the Levites shall be porters at the door. Now, he is keeping the courses here, the courses of the Levites. They served a week at a time. They went in on the Sabbath and came out. So they did 2 weeks a year, one, and then as his course rolled around, another one. And this tells you that the priesthood has been kept going. So there's 1/3 going to be gatekeepers or security officers here. 5. And a third part shall be the king's house, and a third part at the gate of the foundation, and all the people shall be in the courts of the house of the Lord. So 1/3 of them are going to be over at the king's palace, and 1/3 are going to be out in the courts. And the gate of foundation, that's Jisah in the Hebrew, and it's a side gate into the palace. So they're setting up a security system here. 4. This is the thing that you shall do. A third part of you entering in on the Sabbath, the priest of the Levites shall be porters of the door. And we did that, and I've repeated it because these are the priests, and only they can go in. and to go in they had to be sanctified, and all the others then are going to be out in the court or out in the side gate. 7. And Levites shall compass the king round about, every man with his weapons in his hand, and whosoever else cometh into the house, he shall be put to death. But be ye with the king when he cometh in, and when he goeth out. Now this little boy is 7 years old, and the Levites are armed. Yes, they are, with weapons. 8. So the Levites and all Judah did according to all things that Jehoiada the priest had commanded, and took every man that were to come in on the Sabbath, and them that were to go out, for Jehoiada the priest dismissed not the courses. He kept those courses. They were in on Sabbath, out on the Sabbath after they served. 9. Moreover, Jehoiada the priest delivered to the captains of hundreds spears and bucklers and shields that had been King David's, which were in the house of God. Now, they had on the sides, if you remember way back when we were building the temple, that there are 3 stories of side rooms around the sanctuary, and one of these are store areas, and heirlooms would have been in there, valued relics. Now, if they had carried weapons, and do you not think that Athaliah would have had some spies out? Yes, she would have. So they got into these stored spears and weaponry that had belonged to David. And he set all the people, every man having his weapon in his hand, from the right side of the temple to the left of the temple, along by the altar and the temple, by the king round about. They shoulder to shoulder, protecting this little boy. 11. Then they brought out the king's son, and put upon him the crown, and gave him the testimony, and made him king. And Jehoiada and his sons anointed him, and said, God save the king. And the British people say that today. God save the king, God save the queen. Now, the testimony they gave him would have been the Pentateuch, the first 5 the first books of the Moses, and Deuteronomy 17, we're told that the king is supposed to copy this by hand. And why? So he would know the law. If they knew, some of these kings knew the law, they certainly did not obey it. 12. Now when Athaliah heard the noise of the people running and praising the king, she came to the people into the house of the Lord. 13. And she looked, and behold, the king stood at his pillar at the entering in, and the priest and the trumpets by the king, and all the people of the land rejoiced, and sounded with trumpets, also with singers, and with instruments of music, and such was taught to sing praise. Then Athaliah rent her clothes and said, Treason, treason. He is very likely standing on that brass stand that was made under Solomon's reign, and Solomon stood on that when the temple was dedicated. So she's yelled treason, and she's rent her clothes, which is a sign of extreme mourning, but she is simply just furious. And treason, actually, she was yelling, more accurately translated into English, conspiracy. Oh, yes, exactly what she did, but it didn't include murder. 14. Then Jehoiada the priest brought out the captains of hundreds that were set over the host, and said unto them, Have her forth of the ranges, And whoso followeth her, let him be slain with the sword, for the priest said, slay her not in the house of the Lord. It would defile the temple. Those ranges would have been places outside. So they laid hands on her, and when she was come to the entering of the horse gate by the king's house, they slew her. And of course, she committed premeditated murder, and the sentence for that is death. Number 16. And Jehoiada made a covenant between him and between all the people and between the king, and they should be the Lord's people. So he has had them promise that they will serve the Lord and not do what they should not. 19. Excuse me. 17. Then all the people went to the house of Baal and break it down, and break his altars and his images in pieces, and slew Mattan, the priest of Baal, before the altars. So they've slain, back in 2 Kings, called in anybody who was a Baal worshiper, and also those persons were put to death. 18. Also Jehoiada appointed the offices of the house of the Lord by the hand of the priests of the Levites whom David had distributed in the house of the Lord, to offer the burnt offerings of the Lord, as it is written in the law of Moses, with rejoicing and with singing, as it was ordained by David. And the instructions, of course, were written on David by God, and they are worshiping correctly. 19. And he set the porters at the gates of the house of the Lord, that none which was unclean in anything should enter in. And he took the captains of hundreds, and the nobles, and the governors of the people, and all the people of the land, and brought down the king from the house of the Lord, the little 7-year-old. And they came through the high gate into the king's house, and set the king upon the throne of the kingdom. So little Joash is out of hiding and is now the recognized king. And all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet after that they had slain Athaliah with the sword. The next chapter, 24, likely we will not be able to get it entirely through that chapter, but we will start it. Joash, whose name means to whom God hurried to heal, was 7 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. And 40 years is the year of probation, and it is the same as the reign of Saul, the reign of David, and the reign of Solomon. And I said Joash meant to whom God hurried to heal. I should have said to whom God hurried to help. Excuse me. His mother's name was Zibiah of Beersheba. Her name is Roe, R-O-E, like a deer, too. And he did right in the sight of the Lord all the days of Jehoiada the priest. Oh, so Maybe he will turn. 3. And Jehoiada took for him 2 wives, and he begat sons and daughters. It sounds like Jehoiada took wives for himself. He did not. He took wives for this new king. 4. And it came to pass after this that Joash was minded to repair the house of the Lord. Now it has been standing there for 120 years, and it was very well built, as we learned, with very large stones and excellent timbers, but it had been abused and neglected during all the years of idol worship. So he is going to make right the house of the Lord. 5. And he gathered together the princes and the Levites, and said unto him, Go out into the cities of Judah, and gather out of all Israel money to repair the house of your God from year to year, and see that you hasten the matter. Howbeit the Levites hasten not. Now, at this time, we learn in 2 Kings 12 that this young king was about 20 years old. Well, why didn't the Levites hasten? Well, number one, people are not being generous, or the Levites are taking the money for themselves. Most likely, number one is because. 6. And the king called Jehoiada the chief, and said unto him, Why hast thou not required of the Levites to bring in out of Judah and out of Jerusalem the collection according to the commandment of Moses, the servant of the Lord, and the congregation of Israel for the tabernacle of witness? So he wants to know why. 7. For the sons of Athaliah, that wicked woman, had broken up the house of God, and all the dedicated things of the house of the Lord did they bestow upon Baalim. She had taken what was in the king's house and had put it in the house of Baal. 8. And at the king's commandment they made a chest, and set it without the gate of the house of the Lord, a collection plate, if you will. 9. And they made a proclamation through Judah and Jerusalem to bring to the Lord the collection that Moses, the servant of God, laid upon Israel in the wilderness. So it's to be brought in to Jerusalem. 10. And all the priests and all the people rejoiced, and brought in and cast into the chest until they had made an end. 11. Now it came to pass that at what time the chest was brought into the king's office by the hand of the Levites, and when they saw that there was much money, the king's scribe and the high priest officer came and emptied the chest, and took it and carried it to his place. Thus they did day by day, and gathered in abundance. Now notice they had 2 persons overseeing the money, and we do that in church today. 12. And the king and Jehoiada gave it to such as did the work of the service of the house of the Lord, and hired masons and carpenters to repair the house of the Lord, and also such as wrought iron and brass to mend the house of the Lord. So they have all these workers to get it repaired. 13. So the workmen wrought, and the work was perfected by them, and they set the house of God in his state and strengthened it, so it's repaired. And when they had finished it, they brought the rest of the money before the king and Jehoiada, whereof were made vessels of the house of the Lord, even vessels to minister and to offer withal, spoons and vessels of gold and silver. And they offered burnt offerings in the house of the Lord continually all the days of Jehoiada. Oh, but Jehoiada waxed old and was full of days when he died. 130 years old was he when he died. 16. And they buried him in the city of David among the kings, because he had done good in Israel, both toward God and toward his house. 17. Now after the death of Jehoiada came the princes of Judah and made obeisance to the king. Then the king hearkened unto them. Oh, he's listening to them. Should he be listening to God? 18. And they left the house of the Lord God of their fathers and served groves and idols, and wrath came upon Judah and Jerusalem for this their trespass. Thus he, and that is the Lord, sent prophets to them to bring them again unto the Lord, and they testified against them, but they would not give ear. They won't hear. And the Spirit of God came upon Zechariah, the son of Jehoiada, the priest, which stood above the people, and said unto them, Thus saith God, Why transgress ye the commandments of the Lord, that you cannot prosper? Because you have forsaken the Lord, he hath forsaken you. And that is the message of Chronicles. Seek, and you will find him. Forsake, and he will forsake you. 21. And they conspired against him, and stoned him with stones at the commandment of the king in the court of the house of the Lord. For a side study, Luke 11:49 and through 52 covers this. 22. Then Joash the king remembered not the kindness which Jehoiada his father had done to him, but slew his son. And when he died, he said, The Lord look upon it and require it. And Zechariah was who was stoned, and it called Jehoiada his father. He was not his father. He was a grandfather. 23. And it came to pass at the end of the year that the host of Syria came up against him, and they came to Judah and Jerusalem, and destroyed all the princes of the people among the people, and sent all the spoil of them unto the king of Damascus. So once again, the Syrians have come in and taken. 24. For the army of the Syrians came with a small company of men, and the Lord delivered a very great host unto their hand. Because they had forsaken the Lord God of their fathers, so they executed judgment against Joash. Okay, God allowed Ahaziah to take them because he backed away and let the evil come against them. 25. And when they were departed from him, for they left him in great diseases, his own servants conspired against him for the blood of the sons of Jehoiada the priest, and slew him on his bed, and he died. And they buried him in the city of David, but they buried him not in the sepulchres of the kings. 26. And these were they that conspired against Zabad, the son of Shimeath, an Ammonitess, and Jehozabad, the son of Shimrith, a Moabitess. Ammonites and Moabites were descendants of Lot's family from incestuous relationship with his daughter. 27 to complete this chapter. Now concerning his sons and the greatness of the burdens laid upon him, and the repairing of the house of God, behold, they are written in the story of the book of the Kings, and Ahaziah his sons reigned in his stead. So we get a new king named Ahaziah, who will take over after Joash made a terrible mistake. He lost his mentor and he turned away from the Lord. This study has been an outreach of the Essex Methodist Church in Essex, Missouri, and the Crossroads Global Methodist Church in Dexter, Missouri.